Hello and welcome to the Digital Library Overview. Today we're going to look at an ELL perspective at the Digital Library. First off, the Digital Library, it includes ELL resources, and all the resources in the Digital Library, they have special tags on them. So those that put the resources in there can mark them as ELL. And then with those, there's search filters, so users can actually find just ELL resources, and they can search by grade level as well. And we'll look at that a little bit later. There's a collaboration and forums tab where you can have discussions about resources and talk about how you could use a resource in the ELL world. And then there's also interactive modules with Spanish student-facing materials, which we'll look at a little later too. First off, an overview of the Smarter Balanced Assessment System. There's three parts to the Smarter Balanced Assessment System. It's all balanced. First off, there's a summative assessment, which you're probably most familiar with. This is the online assessment, which replaced the Dakota Step test. There's the interim assessments, which are available beginning in February 2015. They're online, flexible, open, and the purpose of them is used for actionable feedback. And then there's the digital library, which is a teacher put resources in and they're all include formative assessment practices, and they're used to improve instruction. And that's what we're talking about. So first off, I want to talk about the definition of formative assessment, just because every single resource in the digital library has to include at least one part of the formative assessment process. And what that is, Smarter Balanced defines formative assessment as a deliberate process utilized by teachers and students during instruction to provide actionable feedback, which is then used to adjust ongoing teaching and learning strategies to improve students' attainment of curricular learning targets and goals. And there's four attributes to the formative assessment process. First off, it's clarifying intended learning. You let your students know what they need to learn for the day. Next is eliciting evidence. You do those quick checks to see if your students are understanding. Third, you interpret the evidence. You test them or formatively assess them. You decide whether or not they understand it. And then lastly is acting on evidence. You make those quick decisions if you need to make instructional changes, any kind of changes at all, just to make sure all your students are understanding. So formative assessment, it is a day-to-day. It's what happens in the classroom. It's those quick decisions and quick changes to instruction. And we have a teacher's perspective. This is a quote from Cece Estes. She's an adult education and literacy instructor for Black Hills Special Services. And she says that the digital library contains curriculum that is working in the English as New Language classroom, and it's grade specific. And just wanted to share the types of resources in the digital library. There's assessment literacy modules, there's exemplar instructional modules, and then there's also education resources. These education resources are the ones that teachers put into the digital library. They're highly quality because they have to be vetted. So 3 different educators have to agree that it needs to be posted before it actually gets posted. So we know that these resources in the digital library are the highest quality. And there's resources for instructional resources, and there's also professional learning resources. And we'll take a look at the modules in there too. What they are, they're just 15-minute interactive online professional learning experiences. And the purpose of them is to transform educational practice unlike any other Common Core resource. Schools can use them to coach educators using the formative assessment process. You can use them in professional developments. Teachers can just view their modules, do whatever they want with them. They do reflect UDL principles and support for diverse groups of learners, which you'll see in a second. And they engage educators long enough to communicate essential ideas, but short enough that educators will use them. So they're not too long, not too short. And wanted to share this too, just so you understand more about the digital library. The digital library, it is not an assessment bank or an item bank. Every resource in the digital library It has to include rich formative assessment practices, and it has to be aligned to the Common Core standards. So they're basically lesson plans, not just an item bank. And you'll see that as you explore the digital library. So let's take a look at what the digital library looks like. So if you log into the digital library, and if you need access to the digital library, contact your testing coordinator, who needs to fill out the spreadsheet and send it to Jonathan Neslatic. And his contact information is at the end of this presentation. So digital library, this is what it looks like. Those filters I was talking about are right up here. So if you want to select a specific subject, let's just say we're doing ELA. Let's do writing. And you can choose your grade level. So let's just say we're looking at kindergarten, first and second grades. And then over here is intended end users. We can select if you want it for parents, professional learning community, teachers. And then you can also do intended student population, and this is where you can select ELL. So now we have all those selected. If we apply those filters, then we have 22 resources. So we have posted with distinction resources, which I could view if I clicked on show, or we just have all the resources. And so these are just resources. We'll just take a look at one of them. Just want to show you what they look like. So everyone has a card like this where it gives a little summary and information about it. And let's just say we click on this one right here. And then this is just what the resource looks like. If you like it, you can add it to your favorites so you can find it right away. You can read about it. Here's below it is the summary, how it connects to the formative assessment process, how it connects to the Common Core standards, the learning goals, the success criteria, and then supporting evidence and principles, literature, research, which describes how you would use it and why it is best practices, like what's the research behind it. So I'm scrolling back up, and if you want to view all the materials, you click on View All Materials. And you can also, what's a lot of time easier is just downloading the material. So if you click download, you can actually download the materials so you have them on your computer. And just wanted to show you this as well. There's a collaboration tab if you want to talk about it. So you can start a discussion and say, how has this worked for your ELL students? And different people can respond to it. You can review it, share it, look for related resources. Or if you find an error, you can always flag it as well. So that's just what a digital library resource looks like. And lastly, within here, I'll show you what one of those modules look like. So let's say we still have ELL marked, and let's just choose module type, and let's just select all of these. So apply filters. Okay, I put too many filters on. I probably shouldn't have done a grade level. But here's all the modules that are in there. So they're for grade level, grade bands, and they pretty much just cover a specific part of the formative assessment process. So this first one's acting on evidence in the formative assessment process, grades K through 2. And you'll see there's lots of different ones. And just to show you what one looks like, maybe we'll just do this video here. So what this module is, it still has the information at the bottom. If I click on it, then it has all the information.
Interpreting evidence in the formative assessment process, grades 3 through 5.
And in your time you can look at it, so you can launch, explore, and summarize. But then over here at the module toolkit, there's all these resources here too. So if you want the instructional task, instructional notes, student-facing materials, and so on. So if I click on student-facing materials, these are just the resources that you would need for the classroom. You have your student learning goal, success criteria, and then here's the student reflection log, which goes with the lesson. We didn't watch it, so we don't exactly know what this is. And then it also has it in Spanish as well. So all student-facing materials are in either English or Spanish in case you need them. All right, so that's a quick walkthrough of the digital library. Shows you a little bit of what it has to offer. And if you do have more questions, please contact us. First off, there is Jonathan Nizlatic. You can contact him if you need any questions you have towards the digital library, or if you need access if you didn't receive your password, username and password. He's the one that helps you out with that. Your testing coordinator needs to contact him in order to get you access. I'm always a secondary contact. I can help you with how to use the digital library and questions within. And then we have UTL Becker, who works with ELL Title III WIDA assessment. So if you have any questions pertaining to that, you can contact her, and there's her information. All right, thank you.